All right, Jordan.
Hey Rob, how's it going?
What's going on, man? Why are you so
Oh,
tired? Why are you yawning?
because I agree with the president.
Man, dude, I don't think I'd never thought I'd hear you say that.
He referred to that big housing bill that we've discussed multiple times already. He described it as a big yawn,
Yeah, okay.
and I gotta say, I kind of agree.
Yeah, you were telling me about it before we started recording, and I'm just stuck shaking my head for everything. So
Our
where are we? Like, what's going on?
our industry has been celebrating that yes, Congress did what we want Congress to do, which is work together and pass a bipartisan bill to address a problem that we as a nation are facing. And so they did that. They got together, they voted an overwhelming bipartisan support on the big housing bill that our industry lobbyists were pushing, and everybody's been promoting it as like, okay, this is so important to opening up housing supply and inventory over the long term. And yeah, we've discussed it in the past. We
Many
discussed it
times.
back in
Yeah.
March when the Senate passed a version, but it's been playing ping pong going back and forth between the House and the Senate. And now it passed both and it's got on the president's desk and he's deciding he doesn't want to sign it.
I mean, he's got his reasons, right?
He's got his reasons. I disagree with his reasons, but
Yeah.
he labeled the bill as not a big deal, is that it's just a big yawn. And looking at the changes and the version that has passed, it's really disappointing. I think he's right.
Yeah. One of the things that we had discussed was that we wanted a definition. This was big in our last podcast, that we wanted a definition for what is an institutional investor. And we had gotten that definition, sort of, that it was 350 properties that you
Yes.
own and above makes you an institutional investor.
Yes.
But now we're looking at some loopholes to that
Yes.
number, right? Do you want to start there? Because we talked about that one a lot.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, when the Senate passed their version several months ago and sent back to the House, and they had included, because this was something that the president back in January, he signed an executive order. Now, the executive order didn't do anything on its own, but it was instructing Congress to ban institutional investors from buying homes. And so it's like, okay, we discussed it back in January when he put out that executive order, and then they incorporated it in the version that was passed in March, and we discussed it, and it was well written in our take of it.
Yeah.
350, that's a lot of homes, but at least it sets it. And then if they were engaging in other programs like build to rent, where they're building out new neighborhoods for rental purposes, these single family homes, there were provisions in there that, okay, after 7 years, they have to sell those homes. Important things.
I liked that. I liked that a lot because,
Yes.
it did give these investors an opportunity to make money. After 7 years, homes inflate at a certain percentage, so they're going to make their money there, but then it adds inventory.
Yes.
7-year-old homes are still in good shape. It adds a good inventory, but that's not the case now.
Right. No, yeah, the House, they removed that provision. And so now that is one of the big loopholes, is that these institutional investors, they're capped at 350 for homes that don't qualify for the exceptions. But the types of homes that do qualify for exceptions are now the ones that are more likely that institutional investors are looking to acquire for the indefinite future. And so with no more provision that a build to rent situation, they don't have to sell in 7 years.
Right.
They can just start going out and continuing what they've been doing, basically.
Yeah.
But it shows that this bill is a yawn. It's not solving the problem that it even seeks, and states as a goal to address.
Well, and you even told me that, okay, so if they're not building it to rent, right? Like if they're buying houses that they're going to then rent that are it's existing inventory, there's a loophole in that as well, right?
Yes.
So what is that loophole?
So there's also then, rehabilitation properties where all they have to do is, if the single family home is on the market and it needs new mechanicals, new roof, if they purchase it and then invest 15% of the purchase price in bringing it up to code, they can then hold on to that home forever as a rental, and it doesn't count towards their 350 cap.
Right.
So
and I could find 15%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now it's got to be related to building code, like just that it's got to be that it was insufficient when they purchased it. But I mean, any rundown home, which are the opportunities for the first-time home buyer to build some sweat equity and get those lower-priced properties. Now, these institutional investors are are incentivized to seek out those opportunities.
Exactly. They're not seeking out the homes that have been manicured and well taken care of and everything's running great. They're actually seeking out. So a great one is like when a first-time home buyer is out there home shopping and the furnace is 18 years old but running great, right? And the water heater, which those things have a life expectancy of 15 years, right?
Yeah.
The water heater, it's past its life expectancy but running great. The roof is in fantastic shape but it's past its life expectancy. These are places where first-time home buyers can usually find opportunity. Now you're saying we actually might have just created a situation where institutional investors are going to compete more in that direction, possibly, because they're looking for houses that they need to put this kind of cash into.
Yes. Yeah. If that institutional investor has hit their 350 cap.
Yeah, which a lot of them have.
Yes. And so then they are the bill carves out such exceptions that those then become the marketplace in which these investors are going to continue to operate and focus all their efforts in. And so anybody else trying to compete in that market is now at, much worse off as a result of this bill.
Okay.
So that's a downside.
That's a downside.
And it's like, yes, we were applauding the version of the bill that the Senate passed several months ago. We recognized it didn't do enough, but it was steps in the right direction.
Yeah.
The way that this final bill has been passed, I don't even know if that's a step in the right direction personally, just because the impact it's going to have on the market, or it may have on the market, I'm not actually thinking is a net positive necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where, that was a disappointment. But, the other ways in which this bill was a yawn, it's like, okay, the National Association of Realtors sent out this long list of all the different sections of the bill that, have these little tweaks. And we discussed those tweaks before. But I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's like, okay, let me do a deep dive into the very first one on the list, the Whole Home Repair Act, and section 202 of the bill. And it's like, okay, I'm reading it, and it's about a pilot program to be able to give grants to different organizations to support home renovations and home rehabilitation to general public, though, not institutional investors.
Because that becomes the biggest issue too, is that, okay, so I can get into this house. We all know home prices are really high right now. Interest rates are high, all of that. And interest rates, anyway, all these things are expensive at the moment.
Yes.
So I get in the door and I own the house, but I can't afford to do contractors, and contracting right now is so much money. Like back, I'm going to give a quick example.
Yeah.
Back when I was doing construction, a water heater install would cost $750, including the water heater. I got a quote not too long ago, and it was to put a water heater in for $3,200. $3,200. And I was shocked, because to me, as somebody that understands how homes are constructed, a water heater is essentially an appliance.
Right.
Like it's hooked up the same way that your stove is, kind of thing. And so it's like your stove with water lines, and it's like, okay, $3,200. The water heater itself didn't go up that much. The labor of it did.
Yes.
And so now you've got this act to help people with those expenses because they've gone up in cost, just like the house has. And what?
Well, so it was I'm reading the final version of the bill, and I'm seeing, okay, this pilot program, and it's like, up to 10 organizations around the country, only one per state at most, but 10 can participate in this pilot program. But I'm like, okay, what's the amount? Like, what is the actual impact? Because until it comes with money getting to the people that this is designed for, it doesn't actually do anything, and I'm not seeing any money. And so then I look back at an older version, and wait a minute, there's a $30 million allocation of funds in the older version for this pilot program, but this is stripped from the final version. So it's like, wait a minute, you created a pilot program with no money.
Mm-hmm. So
it's just a skeleton of a thing, but it's not an actual thing. This bill yawned. Like, that's like, there's
so wait a minute. So like, this is like a old spaghetti Western set, right? Where the houses are just these giant cardboard things. And, remember how you'd see them fall over and the
Yes.
guy would just land like right perfectly in the window? So is that what we're talking about? Like it's, you can see it,
Right. It's a facade.
but it's not real. There's nothing behind it.
Yeah. And that's where, I didn't have the opportunity to go through because, I read the version back in March.
Yeah.
I didn't have the opportunity to go through the entire, but I just wanted to do a deep dive into the things that different people are pointing to as the legislative wins. And it's like, okay, the very first one I looked at, it was just a disappointment. And so it's like, okay, this is indicative of what the bill is. And then the other one with the institutional investors that we really wanted to revisit, both of them are just duds. It's like, I don't know. I'm glad it passed. There's still tweaks in it that we discussed last time. The manufactured homes, they don't have to have a chassis anymore, and so they'll cost, $5,000 to $10,000 less. But then it's just like encouraging manufactured homes when modular are still preferable and better for the industry overall.
Yeah. Well, and then you remember my issue with that was that, okay, so I'm paying for temporary, like I'm paying to live on this rented land.
Yeah.
And I have to put my home on it. Before I could take it with me.
Yes.
Now I can't.
Yeah.
So they can jack up the rent on that piece of property as much as they want to, and I'm just stuck.
Yes.
So the idea of the mobile home, it's gone. Now you're just building a house on a land you don't own, and people can charge you what they want for rent.
And it's a lower quality home
and
than
it's
a
lower
modular
quality
home that's built to local standards. Instead, it's just built to HUD standards. And so, Congress, they needed to pass something to be able to tell the voters, hey, reelect us because we know that their housing is a problem and we're doing something about it. And yes, they did something about it, but it's not what was needed. It will have some impact in the future because it does streamline certain things, but it does so much farcical, like the facade of the spaghetti Western, where it's pretending to do more than it actually does. It encourages, it, supports, it doesn't actually bring the goods.
Cool.
Yeah. So where we are at this point is on Monday, it was delivered to the president's desk. He says he doesn't intend to sign it, but the way our government works, if he doesn't sign it, then after 10 days, it becomes law automatically. If he were to veto it, then it would go back to Congress and they'd have to override his veto. It's been interesting seeing a lot of Republican members of Congress do an entire 180. They voted yes on the bill. It passed. The president kind of poo-pooed it, and now they've come out and said, oh, well, yeah, they actually don't support the bill anymore. So if he were to veto it, I don't think they would necessarily override his veto, which is incredible. But I don't anticipate him vetoing it. I think it's going to become law, but with, no expectation of it being something that they can actually celebrate like they were intending because, he's put a damper on it, but he was right to do so.
Yeah.
It's a yawn.
It's a yawn. Cool. Awesome. Glad that we've spent so much time on this and now it's turned into nothing. But like you said, there might be more to this. I definitely didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see if
I want to go through because I do enjoy the deep dive aspect to see because yes, these bills, they are instructing our government in how to operate and what changes to make. So now that it's going to be the real thing that becomes law once it's signed or not signed, but 10 days go by, then it's like, okay, this is how our government is operating in our industry.
Yeah.
And so each of those sections, there's not coincidentally 47 sections. And so each one of them is supposed to do something. So I'm going to continue to try to find those nuggets that are at least the good tweaks.
Okay. So we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, if I find
you find any good tweaks
worth highlighting.
All right, it's a mystery.
Yes.
Well, you got anything else?
No, that's about it.
That's about it. All right. So is it even still called the 21st Century Road to Housing Act? Like, did the name change?
Yeah. Every time it played ping pong, it got tweaked and melded all together. I do think it's the 21st Century Road to Housing Act.
Okay.
Or bill. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because it was hard for me to keep up with that,
Yeah.
what it was being called at the time.
The silly petty fights they have
Yeah.
in Congress between the two. Yeah.
While we're just out here not able to afford housing.
Yeah.
Or water heaters.
And that's this bill ostensibly was designed to improve supply. It didn't even attempt to address the helping buyers afford housing. And that's really what they need to pick up on the next go around is the buyers, the first time home buyers need support. And this was not doing that.
Yeah, this doesn't do that.
Yeah, didn't even intend to. So
great. All right. Well, guess we'll catch you guys next time.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Peace.
See ya.
See you, Jordan.